Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Robert Donaldson, and welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets. And in this episode, we are talking about the NFL here in week one. Man, oh man, we made it. I can't believe it. Football season is in full form. We've got college football going on. We've got NFL going on. And as you guys can see from the numbers that we posted last year in the NFL, just a fantastic season overall. And honestly, we've been really trending upwards when it comes to the NFL, even just past last year there too. But man, last year it was a fantastic year, and I really do think we're on the cusp of having another really great year this season. But hey, before we jump into the week one picks, let's go ahead and shout out today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't already signed up using promo code ROBDFB, I highly recommend you do so, because on Sunday we are going to have a player pick'em entry over on Underdog on my Twitter. So make sure you are following me over on Twitter/X at RobDFB and signing up using promo code RobDFB, because we're going to be using a lot of Underdog pick'em entries as we kind of go through the season here. But with all that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and jump into our picks here in NFL Week 1. All right, first up, we are taking a look at a matchup here on Thursday Night Football between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously, when you're looking at this matchup here, the Cowboys are a team that a lot of the public are out on, and the Eagles coming off another Super Bowl run where we nailed that pick in the Super Bowl. We also nailed pretty much every single bet that we placed in the Super Bowl. But the Eagles are a very, a team that a lot of people are buying into. And I certainly understand the appeals on both sides of wanting to fade the Cowboys, wanting to like the Eagles just from what they have from a personnel standpoint. But I do feel like we've kind of jumped the shark with this line here, because the Cowboys, even without Micah Parsons, are still going to be able to move the football. I truly believe that. And listen, Dak Prescott, you can feel any way you want about him when it comes to the longevity of the Cowboys and sort of their aspirations for another Super Bowl run. But in the regular season, this guy has always produced, and now he's probably got more weapons than he has at any point in his career here as well. So let's go ahead and take the Cowboys, getting the 8.5 points here for 3 units, and for an additional full unit, let's go ahead and take the Cowboys on the first half money line here as well. All right, next up, we are heading out to the Sunday slate, where we have a game here between the Bucs and the Falcons. And when you're looking at this matchup here, Atlanta is a team that is obviously starting the new era under Michael Penix, and this offense has a lot of high aspirations. I'm a firm believer that I think those aspirations are going to kind of be met to a degree. And on the other side, the Bucs are a team that I felt like maybe overachieved last year, or maybe kind of played true to form. I don't know if the upside with Baker Mayfield is more beyond kind of what they achieved last season. But hey, in this matchup here, I do think we're in store for a pretty good game. But when you're looking at the Falcons, again, this is a team that I kind of want to believe in, and believe in early before potentially they show up and show out, and all of a sudden we can't bet on them. So let's go ahead and take the Falcons, getting the 2.5 points here for 3 units for our second bet here in week 1. For pick number 3, we are heading out to New York, where we have a game here between the Steelers and the Jets. And when you're looking at this matchup, obviously the storyline is at both QB spots, where you have Justin Fields, former Pittsburgh Steeler last season, and you have Aaron Rodgers taking under center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, former Jet last season, and I guess you can count the season prior to that, but a lot of Jets fans have certain feelings about Aaron Rodgers. Let's just put it that way. This is going to be a very interesting atmosphere, and I do feel like when you're looking at this matchup, it could go a number of different ways. I think if you're a believer in the Pittsburgh offense, then Pittsburgh is going to cover this 2.5 over and outright and make it look easy. But if you kind of feel like Aaron Rodgers has hit the tail end of his career, then hey, maybe this is just a slobber knocker type of game, right? And this total is going to go way under. You might as well take the points. Well, I actually align with the former. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be one of the better teams in football this season, and I do think it starts in this game against the Jets. So let's go ahead and lay the 2.5 points here with Pittsburgh for 3 units for our third bet here in week 1. For pick number 4, we are heading on down to Duval County, where we have Carolina taking on Jacksonville. And in this particular game, a lot of people might be sort of out on Bryce Young, but what I can tell you is we saw the best of Bryce Young at the tail end of last season, and I do kind of semi-believe that this is actually going to be an elevation even on what we saw at the back end of last season. Now, on the other side, obviously Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence have kind of had a weird relationship so far in his tenure as quarterback because they've been very up and down, and although he has a really great arm and some of the most talent at the position in the league, they have had some turnover issues that are really kind of coming back on Trevor Lawrence of, hey, is this the guy or is this Jameis Winston? And now, when you're looking at this total of 46.5, I do think that both teams are actually going to come out here firing, and I do think we're going to see a high-scoring game where somebody could reach the 30s. So let's go ahead and take Carolina and Jacksonville to go over 46.5 points for 2 units for our fourth bet here in week 1. For pick number 5, we are heading down to New Orleans, where we have Arizona and Kyler Murray taking on the Saints and Spencer Rattler. And when you're looking at this matchup here, Arizona, this kind of almost has to be the year. Otherwise, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. And this offense for Arizona is absolutely loaded with some of the most talent I've seen in Arizona since they had, Larry Fitz and Anquan Bolden running around out there. And in this matchup in particular, I do feel like Kyler Murray is going to have a really good day, both as a runner and a passer. And right now, his combo player prop of pass yards and rush yards is sitting at over 250.5. And I do think that this number could be absolutely smashed when we're looking at the third quarter here. So let's go ahead and take Kyler Murray over 250.5 pass plus rush yards against the Saints for our fifth bet here in week 1. All right, next up, we are heading out to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where we have the Packers taking on the Lions. And when you're looking at this particular matchup here, the Packers are obviously one of the teams that have been garnering the most attention as of late because, hey, when you pick up Micah Parsons in a trade 1 week before the season starts, guess what? You're going to catch some eyeballs. And I do feel like when you're looking at Green Bay, all the chips are in. This has to be a Super Bowl run. This has to be a successful season for Matt LaFleur. And when you're looking at this matchup in particular, I do feel like they actually are the better team this season when you're comparing them to the Lions. I know it's kind of splitting hairs, but when you're playing in Lambeau to open up the season, you have this much hype, you have an experienced head coach, you have another year under Jordan Love's belt. I do feel comfortable kind of laying this 2.5 type of line. So let's go ahead and lay it for 2 units for our second to last bet here in week 1. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup here on Sunday Night Football between the Ravens and the Bills. This is that rematch of the Mark Andrews drop game that we just saw play out in the snow in the playoffs. And when you are looking at the Ravens, this is their time of year, I feel like. And that's very weird to say because the Ravens of past have always had, that dominant rushing attack, that really elite defense. And I do feel like they have both of those elements, but this team, man, it runs through Lamar and his ability not only to kill you as a passer or to kill you as a runner, but to kill you out from both aspects at the same time. And from that side of things, I do feel like early in the season, this is where you want to back the Ravens, especially against these types of teams that they're kind of evenly stacked up against from a talent perspective. So let's go ahead and take the Ravens on the money line for 3 units for our second to last bet here in week 1. I know I just said that, but we actually do have a bet in Monday Night Football that I just needed to flip to the other page for. So with that said, on to our last bet. All right, for our final bet here in week 1, we are staring at the Monday Night Football game between the Vikings and the Bears, and two teams with different, I think, outlooks in terms of how their season could go, or at least how they could actually achieve that success that both fan bases really want to have. And for the Bears, it starts with Caleb Williams, right? It starts with this offense taking a massive step under Ben Johnson. On the other side with J.J. McCarthy, very similar, where this offense needs to perform because at the tail end of last season with Sam Darnold, although it started as a very nice story, a very heartwarming story, it kind of went up in flames. And they're looking for consistency at the QB spot. The Bears are as well. But I do think the Bears at home with another season under Caleb Williams' belt is going to be a very good thing for them long term. And I think we actually see the residual benefits of all that work in the off season come to fruition in this game as well. So let's go ahead and take the Bears on the money line for 2 units for our final bet here in week 1. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and man, I'm just so excited that we're back in the swing of things with football. Obviously, Major League Baseball is still going on. We've been raking in that all year long, and if you do want to stay in touch with my Major League Baseball bets, be sure to follow me on Twitter/X at RobDFB. Also, the other day, I did release the College Football Week 2 bets video, so if you haven't already tailed those, make sure you're doing so because we've already turned over back-to-back weeks of profit in that sport. But with all that being said, y'all, I appreciate you guys. I'm so excited for this Thursday and seeing the Cowboys and the Eagles take the field for us, and I really do think it's going to be a great NFL season to boot. But with all that being said, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.